I was in the cell phone store, the mobile phone store this past week. I will not say which one, but I was in there looking to make a purchase or order a new phone, and by the time I left the store, after making the purchase, I was so confused, I didn't know if I had made a good deal or not. Right? And maybe you've been in that spot with all the different types of ways to purchase a phone on contract or by installments or just outright buying the phone, or you trade in your old one and you don't have to owe anything, but yet you're under contract, and then there's data plans and sharing and all these things and different types of phones. I literally cannot tell you if I got the best deal on the best phone or if I got the worst deal on a piece of junk phone. I really am not sure. But I do know it wasn't the salesman's fault. That person, they were just sharing me all the different options. And it reminded me that how shrewd these mobile phone companies are in this highly competitive market about the different plans and options. I think I'm getting a better deal than I had before. I know I'm paying less money, and I get a new phone, and I have more data and everything else, but I'm not really sure. And that's kind of how I feel a little bit with this parable. It's like I see what this person is doing, but I'm not really sure why he's commended for it. And I'm a little puzzled. And this parable reminds us of how we have to be careful in dealing with any monetary or economic transaction that we get involved with, right? I mean, even something as simple as grocery shopping. You go to the shelf and you see special today on sale, 2 for $5, normally 1 for $2.80. But it does not say if you only buy one, you'll get it for $2.50, and you're not really sure if you do or not. So you end up buying 2 so you get the good deal, but then you leave the store and you spent more money, and now you have something you don't need. And somehow that's a good deal. And the other question that this brings up is, just because someone is good at making good deals, who's really shrewd and can make a good profit on an economic transaction, someone who has that skill and can do that well, does that make them wise in other areas of life? Because often we lift those folks up amongst us. I'm not really sure. Sometimes, maybe. Or in the spirit of this parable, just because this dishonest manager makes a shrewd deal to ensure his future after he loses his employment because he was caught in dishonesty, well, how does then this make him someone that we are supposed to commend or to give him praise for what he did? The world we live in, my friends, and the world in Jesus' day, especially the world of economics, right, it's full of deception. And we have to be very careful. It's very full of deception and often very empty of mercy. Mercy will not find us at the mobile phone store. All right? There will not be a sign that says above the right deal and the right option and the right phone, this is the one filled with mercy. That won't be there. It will not find us in the grocery store aisle. Mercy will certainly not find us in the row of games at the carnival at the Vernon County Fair. Right? $2 for one throw or $5 for 10 throws. It's all the same. You never end up with anything that's even worth 2 cents, but you give them more money for the opportunity to do that, and somehow it's a good deal. Mercy will not find us in those places. It will certainly not find us when the salesperson calls us on the phone to offer us the deal of a century. No, mercy will not find us. I think this is clear in this text. Mercy will not find us when we spend all of our time serving wealth and searching for the best deal. Because if we are only looking for the best deal, sure, we'll make some good ones. We'll also make some bad ones. But if that's all that consumes our time and energy, making the deal, serving wealth, we will not find mercy. We will only find dissatisfaction in what could have been, and it only spurns our temptation for making a better deal the next time. Now, Jesus in our text, in his little parable today, commends this dishonest manager in this parable for his creativity and tells us, look how creative this guy was in something that was dishonest. How creative can we be in all these other things that are good? But he is reminding us that there are things in this world that are much greater than monetary wealth, and if that is all we'll focus on, well, then we'll come up short on every deal, because we cannot earn mercy. And then he says it so succinctly at the end of this parable, these words that just speak right into our hearts. You cannot serve God and wealth. You can't have it both ways. Now, our lives consist of doing both justice and injustice at the same time, simultaneously, almost every day. Our lives consist of deception, even in our good works and in our service. For example, many of us, almost all of us, we give money to charity to help out others less fortunate. And that is a good thing. But yet we also never let them know how much we really have or how much we really could give. Because like me this past week, we got to save enough to go get that good deal on a new phone at the store. We may lament those who are truly poor and needy among us, and we want their situation to improve. But yet we hire tax advisors to help us pay as little tax as possible, this very same tax that could go to help those who are poor and needy. And yes, we get caught up in the argument, well, that tax dollar that is wasted by other places and our governments and all that. And yes, some of that's true, but we use that as an excuse while there are many in our midst who are truly needy. And we say that those who are poor or unemployed should work hard and get a job and make good decisions like I did. Why should we continue to support them when they can do it on their own? But yet we overlook the fact that for whatever reason, they just didn't have this shrewd deal-making capability. Or they made bad decisions. Or they got caught in something that was beyond their control. Or they got addicted to something. Whatever the situation is. And we live both in this justice and injustice, and we have to navigate our way through this balance in our lives. For what we need or what we think we need, what we want, and what God calls us to do, and sometimes those things are at contradiction. No, my friends, mercy will not come and find us. It is something that at least come and find us through our deal making. It is something that we have to give over freely. And if we are more concerned about the things of wealth than the things of God, well, then it will be a hard thing, and I'll even dare say an impossible thing to give. But we have in front of us today, in our lives of faith, we have this story of God's faithfulness to the world in our Scripture that tells us a different story. We know of a story. We have this in front of us on a weekly basis, daily basis. We know a story where mercy came running. The story wasn't about the shrewd deal. The story wasn't about wealth. Throughout all the scriptures, there are, especially the prophets, there's a section in Amos in which people are reminded of bad deals and false practices that they did with each other, and the prophet is calling them to task with it. And God says, I will not forget their deeds. And it sounds like judgment, but I think what really God is saying is that mercy will come running. And the letters and words of the first century church in the New Testament, they are words of God's grace and faithfulness. In fact, even in 1 Timothy, the writer tells us that God desires everyone to be saved, to come to the knowledge of truth. That is mercy. Mercy came running. And in the gospel stories of Jesus, we hear how God brings no deception into this world. God says you don't have to be a shrewd deal to earn mercy, because mercy came running to those that Jesus was speaking to, and it comes running to us today. God is telling us in this parable, he's telling us we can't be disciples of Jesus while we accumulate wealth at the expense of the poor or those who are less skilled in deal making. Think of it that way. And that our unfair practices with each other keep us from serving God. And it's hard to face that truth because we see so much of it in our lives, in my life. Mercy came running to this world in the form of Jesus, who said, enough of your piety. Enough of your religious practices that excluded others. Enough of the system that keeps others out. And Jesus intentionally went to those people who were excluded. And God is saying to us today, in our world and in our time, enough. Enough of your political polarization. Enough of the rich getting poorer and the poor getting poorer. Rich getting richer and the poor getting poorer. Enough of a lifestyle that excludes others because of all those things that divide us. And it's tempting to exclude the others that we don't like, or the others that didn't make the good deal or do the hard work that we did. It's tempting because it's cheaper, it's cleaner, and it's simpler. It is messier, it is harder, and it is more expensive to take care of each other. Even those that should be able to take care of themselves, for whatever reason, don't. My friends, mercy will not be found in the service of our wealth. But mercy comes running in the service of God. And even in all of your failings, even all of your shortcomings, even in all of your griefs and your pains that you bring with yourself today, mercy comes running. In your sin, in your unjust living, in my cell phone contract, mercy comes running. And when we open our hearts to this overflow of mercy running at us, and we shut the door to our desire for wealth and the need to always make the best deal, that is when we can offer mercy to each other. Because you see, the story that we want to tell, and the story that I want you to hear today, is that Jesus, in the midst of all of this, Jesus showed up. Without deception, without a page of legal fine print, mercy came running for you. Thanks be to God. Amen.